We all make decisions every day, from what to eat for breakfast to whether to invest in a new company. Sometimes these decisions feel easy, like choosing your favorite ice cream flavor. Other times, they're much harder, like deciding on a career path or buying a house. Behavioral economics helps us understand why. It shows us that we don't always make the perfectly rational choices that traditional economics assumes. Traditional economics often presents a model of the rational actor. This person carefully weighs all the options, considers the costs and benefits of each, and then picks the choice that maximizes their own well-being. They're like a superpowered computer calculating the best outcome. But, in reality, people aren't like that. Our brains aren't perfectly logical machines. They're messy, emotional, and prone to biases. One of the biggest findings in behavioral economics is the influence of heuristics. Heuristics are mental shortcuts our brains use to make quick decisions. They're helpful in many situations, allowing us to process information fast and avoid being overwhelmed. But these shortcuts can also lead us astray. For example, the availability heuristic means we tend to overestimate the likelihood of events that are easily recalled, like plane crashes. Because those events are frequently reported in the news, we might be afraid to fly even though driving is statistically more dangerous. Another common bias is anchoring bias. This is where we over-rely on the first piece of information we receive, even if it's irrelevant. Imagine you're negotiating the price of a used car. The seller starts by mentioning a high price. Even if you know that price is too high, it will anchor your expectations, and you might end up paying more than you would have otherwise. This initial information biases your entire decision-making process. Framing effects are also powerful. The way a choice is presented influences how we perceive it. If a doctor says there's a 90% chance of survival after a surgery, it sounds much better than saying there's a 10% chance of death, even though they mean exactly the same thing. This shows how the way information is framed significantly affects our decisions, even if the underlying facts are the same. Loss aversion is another key concept. We feel the pain of a loss more strongly than the pleasure of an equivalent gain. Losing $100 feels worse than gaining $100 feels good. This explains why people are often risk-averse, preferring a sure thing over a gamble, even if the gamble has a higher expected value. For example, someone might refuse a bet with a 50% chance of winning $200 and a 50% chance of losing $100 even though the expected value is a positive $50. Mental accounting is another interesting aspect. We often treat money differently depending on its source or intended use. Someone might readily spend $50 on a concert ticket but hesitate to spend the same amount on a new tool for their home even though both could bring some form of satisfaction. We mentally categorize money, and this impacts how freely we spend it. These biases show how our decisions aren't always perfectly rational. We rely on simplified decision-making processes that help us navigate a complex world. Understanding these biases, however, allows us to make more informed choices and, perhaps, become better decision-makers. We can be more aware of how framing, anchoring, and other factors influence our thinking and try to compensate for their effects. For example, knowing about anchoring bias can help you in negotiations. If someone offers a high price, remind yourself it's just a starting point and try to focus on your own research and budget to make a sensible counteroffer. Understanding loss aversion can help you make better financial investments by reminding yourself to focus on long-term gains instead of being overly concerned with short-term losses. Behavioral economics provides a more realistic model of human decision-making than traditional economics. It acknowledges the role of emotions, heuristics, and cognitive biases. It doesn't aim to replace rational choice theory entirely, but rather to complement it by showing the important ways in which people deviate from perfect rationality. By understanding these deviations, we can improve our own decision-making and better understand the choices of others, ultimately leading to a better understanding of ourselves and the world around us. This insight is valuable not just in our personal lives, but also in areas such as marketing, finance, and public policy, where understanding how people actually make choices, rather than how they should theoretically make them, is crucial for effective decision-making and strategy. The more we learn about the complexities of human decision-making, the better equipped we are to navigate the choices that shape our lives.